up? It's Sarah. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel.
So first off, my hands are orange. Yes, I'm aware of that. We're not gonna talk about that. And second off, if I do this a lot, I'm sorry. I'm wearing a tube top, so it like falls down. But this story takes place in 8th grade. So it was about 2 years ago. I'm gonna be a sophomore in high school in August. Whenever I think about this situation, I just feel so angry, so confused, just like shocked. A lot of people do know this story. If you went to school with me, chances are you know it. For my 6th period math class, I had a teacher. We're gonna call him Mr. Potato because he looked like a potato. Just as a little backstory on Mr. Potato, this was his first year as an official teacher. Before this, he was a substitute teacher. I had a lot of my really good friends in that class. The class was really, really wild, I'm not gonna lie. And I mean, I will cut him some slack. It was his first year, so I understand if he didn't really know how to control a class fully. I'm just gonna be honest, we didn't listen to him, we didn't like him, we were very disruptive, we were very rude, we would talk back, we would just be awful people, but you know, I mean, he kind of, I don't want to say he deserved it, but he kind of did. Now that I like look back and I think about everything, whenever he would like teach us math, he just didn't know how to explain it in a way where everybody understood. There was only like a very select few of kids who knew what they were doing. First semester goes by, you know, everything was fine. One thing I will note is that he was 28, I think, or 29, I'm not exactly sure. So he was relatively young, you know. He liked some of the same things that I did. We had the same music taste. We kind of liked like old like 90s alternative kind of stuff. And so, you know, I tried to like him. I really did. And there was a time where I did like him and I actually enjoyed being in the class. And, you know, I did listen to him and I did just like sit in my seat, do what I was told, try to pay attention and try to learn math. You know, I just thought, okay, you know what? Let's give him a break. You know, it's his first year, whatever. Let's try to be decent humans. I regret this very much now just because of what happened, but yeah. Back to what I said about him being 28 or 29, I don't really remember. I don't really know how to say this in a way without it sounding wrong, I guess. When teenage girls have like a young teacher, sometimes they're attractive and sometimes, you know, the girls are kind of like, ooh, Mr. blah, 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 whatever. Well, this was not the case with him. He was not attractive whatsoever. If I'm being honest, he looked like he was around 47. He was balding, he had glasses, he had like this like really gross like scruffy beard that whenever he would shave, it just like looked really, really bad. Like he just was not attractive. And even if he was attractive, like it still doesn't make the situation right. He looked like the definition of a pedophile, but he had this really soft like voice. He was a very weird guy, and I'm not gonna lie, honestly, a lot of people did get pedophile vibes from him, and I see why now. And throughout the year, there was a few occasions where some girls did say like, oh my god, like he keeps like looking at me weird, or he keeps like smiling at me weird, or like, oh, I was wearing a dress and he was like, oh, you look nice in that dress, or like, oh, that's a really pretty dress, or like he would just like say like little things like that. And so, you know, I would hear these things and I'd be like, yeah, sure, like they're probably just like whatever, like they're probably overreacting, whatever the case may be, you know. I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm getting angry at this point, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting a little mad, just a little angry. Oh, since I acted up a lot in this class, he would often move me to the front of the room right next to his desk. Now, I hated doing this. I hated sitting next to the teacher just because, I don't know if it was just at our school, but when you're in 8th grade, you're kind of seen as like the seniors, because like you basically are the seniors of the school, and so you kind of have this like I don't care, I hate authority type attitude. At least my friends and I did. So if the teacher moved you around, if I was in any other class, I would, you know, listen to them and go sit. But with Mr. I never did that. If he moved me, I would like start yelling at him and I would start arguing with him and I would just be like, no, I don't want to sit near you, blah, 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 just because towards the end of the year, I did start to get kind of creepy vibes because he would kind of like stare at me for like awkward periods of time, and I would like catch him staring and he would kind of just like look away. And so I was kind of just like, I don't want to sit near you, like I just don't like you, like I want to go sit in the back with my friends, you know? Fast forward to when the story actually happened, to when the incident actually occurred. This happened in, I want to say it was March. I know it was towards the end of the year. I know we had like 2 months left maybe, because I remember everyone was like trying to learn as much math as they could because we had milestones coming up, which is basically just a standardized test that you take at the end of the year. I remember on this particular day, I was in a really, really bad mood. I don't remember what happened, but I just didn't really feel like arguing with anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone, and so I had gotten moved next to his desk a few days before, and I just decided today, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna sit there, I'm just gonna do my work and leave the class. You know, I honestly just really wanted to just go home. So I walked into the class and it was loud, disruptive as usual. So his desk was right here and my desk was here. Before class started, he asked us if anybody knew the song All Time Low. I had heard the song on the radio. I was like, oh, I know that song. And he was like, oh yeah, it's a really good song. And I was like, yeah, I guess, whatever. And so class goes on. I didn't really think anything of it. For some reason, I was one of the last people to leave the classroom, but there was about like 2 or 3 people left in the class when I was kind of like starting to get up and getting ready to leave. As I'm like halfway to the door, he's like, hey, Sarah, come here. And so I turn around and I'm like, yes, like what? At this point, there was probably like 1 person in the class, I think, I don't really know. And so I go up to him and I'm like, yes, like he starts talking to me and he's like, yeah, like All Time Low, like it's such a good song, like oh my god, like it's amazing, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, yeah, sure. And then we end up walking towards the door because he got up, and so I assumed he was gonna like walk me out. Sometimes teachers do that, you know, you're talking with them but you have to go, so you kind of just like walk towards the door together talking. This happened within a matter of like 2 minutes. The bell rang, I started to leave, then he called me over, and then like now we're walking, and he's like, yeah, you know, I can't get that one line out of my head. And I was like, which one? Keep in mind, I had only heard this song on the radio. Therefore, when you hear things on the radio, they bleep certain things out. And he's like, oh, like you know which one? And I'm like, no, I don't. And he's like, the one that says, and then in the like even a creepier voice than what he was already talking, and he like sings, and he sings the line, and the line goes, you're the reason I'm alone and masturbate. What? When he said this, I didn't even know that the song said this in the first place. I look at him and I just kind of, my face goes from like a chill, just like, to just, okay, I'm gonna go now. And that was all I said. I literally just said, I'm gonna go now. And I walked out and I went to my next class. And I have a really bad tendency that whenever something bad happens to me, I like to block it out and just not think about it and ignore the problem completely. And so I did that. And I went home and I honestly really did forget that it even happened, because I was so good at just, you know, erasing it from my mind. I had never experienced something like that with an adult saying something like that to me. The next day I go to school, and in the mornings, if you get there before a certain time, you have to wait outside. And this isn't uncommon, like there's always a lot of people there. And so I was standing with my friends, and then all of a sudden I see Mr. Potato, and he starts like walking towards the school, and I see him, and something in my head just like clicked. I started freaking out. I start just like going crazy. I'm literally hiding behind my friend. I don't want to be seen by him. And then they're just like, what? Like, are you okay? And then I tell them what happened, and they just kind of look at me and they're like, the day goes by and I went to his class and I sat in the back with my friends. I did not look at him the entire time. I don't think I was being loud that day. I think I just like didn't talk, but I know I had my back faced him, like towards him the entire class. I didn't want to look at him. I didn't want to be called on by him. I didn't want anything to do with this man. School's over, my mom picks me up. And I'm in the car and I'm like, hey mom, I need to talk to you. And she's like, yeah, like what's up? And I tell her what happened, but I told her just like the short version of it. She, like slams the brakes on the car and she like pulls into Chick-fil-A, because there's one right next to my school. And she's like, what did you just say? Oh my God. Starts just yelling at me, and she's like, why didn't you tell me this sooner? Blah, 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 blah. And so she turns the car around and she starts driving to the school, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, we're gonna go tell the school like right now, like this is unacceptable. Like, I can't believe you didn't tell me before. And I'm kind of just like, okay, like this is going down, like wow. I get to the school and I walk into the office, and one of my other teachers was in there. We're gonna call her Miss Georgia just because she taught Georgia studies. I tell her what happened and she's like, we asked for the principal, but like he just wasn't in there right now. And so she goes out and she calls for the 8th grade assistant principal. So we're gonna call her Miss Cat. So Miss Cat comes in and Miss Georgia is like, they need to talk to you like right now. And Miss Cat's like, yeah, like what's up? And so Miss Cat takes my mom and I to the back conference room and she sits me down and she takes a little notepad with her and she's like, so what happened? And I tell her what happened and she kind of just like drops her pen and she just looks at me and she just starts like going off and she's like, I hate this man so much, like blah 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 blah, like I don't want him to be a teacher here anymore, like we always have so many complaints about him. And so she was just like, I'm so sick of him, like this is his 3rd strike, like we're done, like he's getting fired, like we don't want him anymore. And I'm just like, oh, like wow, like I really just like made this man lose his job, but like that was his fault. Also, sorry if it's getting dark in here, the sun is going down and I'm using natural light, so yeah, the sun's kind of just like slowly going away. She calls in the 7th grade assistant principal. We're gonna call him Mr. Kid. Mr. Kid comes in and Miss Cat gives him the notepad and she's just like, this is what happened, blah 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 blah. And Mr. Kid is just as shocked as like everybody else was. Miss Cat brings me a statement paper because you know when you go to the office to go like complain about something, you have to fill out a whole statement. My mom and the 2 APs leave me back there to write everything out. And I finish and I go outside to go like, you know, turn it in or whatever. And my mom is sitting in the office and she's like, go back in the room. And I'm like, why? And she's like, they're talking to him right now. In the front office at my middle school, there's like, it's all just like glass windows that like surround the office. And so if someone's coming down the hallway, you can see who it is. And so I guess they saw him and they just like approached him. But my mom says that they just like they literally like ran towards him and then they had the security guard like block the door to make sure he didn't leave. Like it was something out of a movie. Well, I go back into the room and then Miss Cat comes in and she gets the paper and she's like, okay, like thank you so much, blah 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 blah. And my mom's like, so what's gonna happen with him? Like he's fired, right? She's like, well, we have to have an investigation because you know we have to make sure that this is true, blah 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 blah, because he denies that it happened. He said that it didn't happen that way, blah 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 blah. And so I'm just like, of course he's gonna deny it, like what did y'all expect? And she's just like, yeah, but he's not coming in tomorrow, we'll keep you guys updated. And my mom is like, no, like I want to know like right now what's gonna happen with him. And she's like, okay, like we're gonna see what happens, like because you don't really have any witnesses. And because like there was no witnesses, no one else was in the classroom, but she pulled people out of the class to see if like anyone had like heard anything. And this one girl did hear him say like, oh yeah, like All Time Low, like it's a good song. And so they had like a witness about somebody that did hear him say that, which like, you know, then like why would I make up the rest of the story? It doesn't make any sense. The next day, a lot of people found out because a lot of my friends that I had told people. And then there was a bunch of different stories going around, a bunch of different variations of it, and no one really knew who he had said this to. And then like some people figured out that it was me. Miss Cat came into our class like 2 days later and she was just like, yeah, like as we know, there was some allegations about Mr. Potato, he's not coming back, blah 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 blah. And then we literally had substitute teachers. We had like a new sub every single day. It was too late in the year to try to find a new teacher. And Miss Cat and the principal, we're gonna call him Mr. Apple, he and Miss Cat had to teach the class. I think they used to be math teachers, or they had like they had something to do with math. They were just like good at it. And so they had to teach us, but obviously like it wasn't really working out. And then a lot of people were mad at me because a lot of people thought I was lying. Some people thought I just wanted to get him fired because I didn't like him. Some people thought like, oh my god, like Sarah, like if we fail, like it's gonna be your fault because we don't have a proper math teacher, which I think is stupid because we weren't really learning anything before, or at least my class wasn't. And then they ended up trashing his classroom. Some people in one of his other classrooms trashed his room. And then one day we walked in everything was off of the walls, all of his personal belongings were gone, and then we realized, okay, like he really is fired. My mom went to the school every single day for like 2 weeks, and she was just like, so like what's happening with him? Like, did you guys like find enough evidence? Like, did you guys like watch the security cameras? Like, is like what's happening? Because like she was angry, and because like, you know, what parent wouldn't be angry if a grown man says that to your daughter? And yes, he didn't exactly say, Sarah, you are the reason, blah 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 blah, but you know, in the way that he did it, I feel like if he didn't mean to say it to me, then like why would he say it? Like, if he was just trying to make like conversation, he could have just been like, yeah, it's a good song, like, you know, like blah blah blah. He didn't have to say specifically like, oh, like, you know what line I'm talking about, and then like call me after class when no one else was in there. And so that led me to believe that maybe he was like trying to say it to me. I really don't know. I don't want to speak on what I don't know about, but yeah, I never saw him again. And that was the story of how I got my math teacher fired. And also, I didn't fail 8th grade math. I passed. A lot of people did fail though. Like, it was like the highest fail rate of that like they've had in a while. But yeah, so that was all for today's video. Sorry if this video was really long. I'm gonna try to edit it and make it as short as possible. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for my next video. Bye!